My stepsister Nancy turned a family dinner into a revenge show. Here's a favoritism boiled over in the worst way possible. Sir, I never thought I'd actually post here, but last week's family dinner turned into something I'm still replaying in my head. For context, I 24F have a stepsister, Nancy 26F, and ever since my dad remarried, she's been kind of the outsider in our blended family. My stepmom tries to act like she's all about family unity, but if you've ever seen obvious favoritism in action, you know what I mean. Nancy's been the black sheep, mostly because she's blunt and doesn't take. Meanwhile, I've always been the easy one, good grades, no drama, etc. Our dad there? He clearly favours me, and I'm not even proud of it. He buys me things, shows up to my events, but when it comes to Nancy, it's always excuses. She's too sensitive. She should have tried harder. She knows how I feel. It's honestly awkward, and I've always felt stuck in the middle. Anyway, my stepmom suggested this peaceful dinner at this fancy Italian restaurant downtown at like the kind with chandeliers and waiters who refill your water every 2 minutes. She framed it as a family bonding night. I had a bad feeling from the start because Nancy was already rolling her eyes when we sat down. It was me, Nancy, my dad, my stepmom, and my little half-brother 10M, who was way more interested in his Nintendo Switch than the bread basket. Everything seemed normal at first. We ordered pasta. Dad was bragging about some deal he closed at work, and my stepmom kept trying to play hostess like we weren't literally just at a restaurant. Then it started. My dad casually mentioned how proud he was that I got a small promotion at work. You've always been the ambitious one, he said, raising his glass. Nancy froze. I swear, the way she set her fork down made me nervous. Ambitious one, she said. So what am I? The failure. The whole table went quiet. My stepmom jumped in with a fake laugh. Oh, Nancy, no one said that. But Nancy wasn't letting it go. You didn't need to. It's always implied, isn't it? Dad sighed, already annoyed. Nancy, don't start. Tonight is supposed to be nice. That was it. I saw something snap in her eyes. She leaned back, crossed her arms, and gave this small smile that honestly scared me a little. Oh, don't worry, Dad. I'm not going to start anything. She paused, her tone sharp but calm. I'm going to finish something. I shifted in my seat because I knew exactly what she meant. Nancy has always had this thing where, if she feels cornered, she doesn't yell, she plots. And apparently, she had been planning something for this dinner all along. The waiter came back with our food right as she pulled out her phone, placed it face up on the table, and hit play. And that's when all hell broke loose. So the audio that started blasting from Nancy's phone wasn't music, wasn't a podcast, it was a recording. At first it was muffled, but then clear enough for all of us to make out. It was my dad's voice. Dad on recording. I mean, between the two girls, it's obvious he's worth investing in. Nancy she doesn't have it together. I'd rather put money into my name's future. At least she wouldn't waste it. The restaurant noise suddenly didn't exist. My spaghetti fork was hanging midair. My stepmom's face drained colour. My dad immediately lunged for the phone, but Nancy snatched it back before he could grab it. You recorded me? Dad hissed, his voice slow but sharp. Nancy leaned back in her chair, completely calm. Oh, this isn't just you. I've got plenty more. Want to hear Mom's greatest hits or maybe Grandma's commentary? She scrolled on her phone, and suddenly another recording played, this time my stepmom's voice. Stepmom on recording. Nancy should have been out of the house years ago. She's a drain, but at least my name is doing something with her life. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I mean, I always knew they favoured me, but hearing it out loud. Like some boardroom conversation. My little brother even looked up from his switch, blinking wide-eyed. Are you insane? And my stepmom whisper yelled, gripping her wine glass like it might shatter. Recording private conversations, that's illegal. Nancy's voice didn't even shake. Funny, you didn't care about illegal when you were trashing me in your own kitchen. Don't worry, I'm not posting it anywhere. I just wanted you all to hear yourselves, out loud, where you can't pretend it's in my head. My dad's jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. Nancy, turn it off. Now, you're humiliating this family. She laughed bitterly. Humiliating the family? You do that all by yourselves. I'm just providing the soundtrack. I sat there frozen, not sure if I should intervene. I mean, I've always felt guilty about how much attention I got compared to her, but this was on another level. Everyone else was staring at the plates, the whole restaurant starting to notice the tension at our table. Then Nancy dropped the real bomb. You know what's wild? Grandma actually told me something the other day. Dad, remember when you said you couldn't help me with my college tuition because science were tough? Funny, because Grandma mentioned you wrote a $15,000 check to help my name buy her car. The air got sucked out of the room. My dad stammered. That was different. She needed it for work. Nancy cut him off. Right, and I didn't need school. Or maybe I just wasn't your investment. Thanks for making it so clear. The table was dead silent except for the clinking of glasses from nearby diners who were pretending not to eavesdrop. And then Nancy stood up. I'm done eating lice for dinner. Enjoy your meal. She grabbed her purse, phone still in hand, and walked straight out of the restaurant. My stepmom muttered, unbelievable. My dad rubbed his temples. And I just sat there, heart pounding, wondering if I should chase after her or stay behind. Because honestly, I wasn't sure whose side I was really on anymore. The second Nancy walked out, it was like all the air left with her. The restaurant chatter faded back in, but our table stayed frozen. My dad muttered something under his breath, then signalled the waiter for the check like we hadn't just been publicly dragged. I couldn't sit still. My heart was pounding, and honestly, I felt sick. Dad, is it true? I finally asked, my voice low but sharp. You really said all that about her? He groaned like I was the problem. Sweetheart, you have to understand sometimes parents vent. It doesn't mean we don't love her, she's just difficult. Difficult? I snapped before I could stop myself. All the time. Do you even realise how you sound in those recordings? My stepmom jumped in fast defensive. Oh, don't start romanticising her. Nancy has been nothing but trouble since day one. She picks fights, she refuses help. I slammed my fork down, and the sound actually made a couple at the next table look over. She refuses help because you never offer it fairly. You think I wanted you to pay for my car and not her tuition. You think that makes me feel good. My little brother mumbled, I just want to go home, but nobody heard him over the tension. Dad pinched the bridge of his nose. You don't understand how much harder she makes things. She doesn't show gratitude. She doesn't even try to meet us halfway. I can't reward that. And that's when something ugly slipped out of my mouth. Or maybe you just don't like her because she's not yours. Silence. My stepmom's face turned red instantly. Excuse me, she hissed. I looked straight at her. You dote on me because I'm Dad's kid. You tolerate Nancy like she's a tenant. Don't even try to deny it. She opened her mouth, but my dad cut in. Enough, we are not doing this here. But we were. The lid was already off, and Nancy's eggs had lit the fuse. I pushed my chair back. You know what, she's right. I'm not sitting here pretending this is a family dinner. I'm going to find her. I grabbed my coat and stood, my dad calling after me. Don't encourage this behaviour. She thrives on drama. I didn't care. My hands were shaking as I left the table, scanning the restaurant windows. Outside, the cold night air hit me like a wall, and I spotted her leaning against the side of the building, arms crossed, phone in hand. She looked at me unimpressed. What? Did they send you out to drag me back in? I shook my head. No, I came out because you're right about all of it. I heard the recordings, I heard the tuition thing, and I'm sorry, I didn't know. Nancy let out this bitter laugh. Of course you didn't know. They didn't want you to know. You're the golden one. Why ruin your perfect little world with mine? Her words stung, but I forced myself to stay there. I don't want to be the golden one if it means you getting crushed under it. That's not fair. For the first time that night, her face softened just a little. But before I could say more, the restaurant doors opened again, and my dad stepped out. The second my dad stepped outside, the tension hit like a wall. His face was flushed, probably from both anger and embarrassment. The glow of the restaurant sign made him look harsher than usual. Nancy, he said, his voice tight, we need to talk now. Nancy crossed her arms tighter, her expression nice. Oh, now you want to talk? What's next? Dad, another lecture about how I should be more like your precious my name. He exhaled sharply, ignoring me completely. You crossed the line tonight, recording private conversations, that's low, even for you. Nancy's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. Hello, you've been calling me worthless behind my back for years, but I'm the one who crossed the line. I stepped in. Dad, she's not wrong. You can't just dismiss what she's feeling. I heard those recordings, and honestly, you sounded awful. He turned to me like I betrayed him. Sweetheart, don't let her manipulate you. Nancy's always twisting things to make herself the victim. That's what she does. Nancy stepped forward then, and for once, she wasn't yelling. Her voice was calm, which somehow made it hit harder. You don't even realize, do you? You built this whole family dynamic around me being the scapegoat. Everything bad gets pinned on me, everything good goes to her. You think I don't see it? You think I don't notice when you buy her a car, but you tell me you're broke when I ask for help with books. Dad's jaw tightened, but he had no comeback. None. So Nancy went in for the kill. You always say I don't try hard enough, but why would I? Why would I break myself trying for scraps of your approval, when you'll never give it anyway? You made sure of that. The silence after that was brutal. Even people walking past on the sidewalk were glancing at us, sensing the drama. Finally, Dad muttered, you're twisting this. No, I cut him off, my voice louder than I meant. She's not. I didn't want to see it before, but it's true. You treat us completely differently, and the worst part is, I let it happen. I didn't push back. I didn't ask why Nancy always got less, why she had to fight for everything. Nancy blinked at me, almost surprised I was siding with her. Dad turned on me now, his voice stern but desperate. Sweetheart, don't do this. You don't understand the damage she's caused. You don't know what it's like trying to keep things together when she... Nancy cut him off. When I refused to sit quietly while you play favourites. When I dare to call you out. That's not damage, Dad. That's truth. The words just hung there, heavy and undeniable. For the first time, my dad looked small. Not furious, not controlling. Just small. He rubbed his forehead, muttered, this is ridiculous, and walked back into the restaurant, leaving the two of us standing outside in the cold. Nancy let out a shaky breath. Well, that's that, I guess. I looked at her and shook my head. No, that's just the beginning. And that's when I realised the real fallout hadn't even started yet. After Dad stormed back inside, Nancy and I stood in awkward silence for a few moments, the cold night air biting at our cheeks. I could feel my heart still racing from the confrontation, but there was also the strange sense of clarity. For the first time, I really saw Nancy not just as my stepsister, but as someone who had been silenced and overlooked for years. You know, she said finally, her voice quieter, almost vulnerable, I wasn't trying to ruin the dinner, I just wanted you to see. I wanted them to see. I nodded slowly. I get it, and I do see, I've been blind to it for too long. I didn't know how bad it was, because I was busy being the golden child. She scoffed, but there was no bite to it. Golden child, that's one way to put it. You think it's a crown, but it's more like a spotlight that blinds you to everyone else. We started walking down the street toward my car. Nancy had parked a few blocks away, but I wanted to talk, to make sure we weren't just leaving things hanging in the cold. I don't want to fight with you, I said, fumbling over my words. I've always liked having a stepsister. I just didn't realize how much favoritism messed things up for you. Nancy looked at me for a long moment, and I swear I saw a flicker of relief behind her guarded expression. Yeah, it's been rough, but seeing you stand up tonight, even if it was just a little, it means something. Maybe we can, I don't know, start over. I smiled, even though my chest still felt heavy. Start over sounds good. We got to her car, and she opened the door for me to sit in the passenger seat. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable, it felt like a bridge forming. I guess the next step is dealing with them, I said. I mean, we can't just let them continue like this. Nancy laughed softly, this time without venom. Oh, I'm not done, but we do it smart. No more blindsiding them at dinner. Next time, we play chess, not checkers. I laughed too, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were on the same team. Not siblings fighting for scraps of parental attention, but real allies. We drove home in silence after that, but it wasn't awkward. It was thoughtful, like both of us were processing the explosion we just walked away from. I realised that while the restaurant incident was intense, it had opened a door we couldn't ignore. For the first time, I started seeing my dad and stepmom not as the ultimate authority figures, but as humans who could be held accountable for their action. And more importantly, I started seeing Nancy for who she really was, a strong, sharp, brave woman who refused to be invisible. By the time we got back, I knew one thing, family dinners would never be the same. And honestly, that was okay. Nancy turned to me before she got out of the car. Thanks, she said simply. For noticing, for actually seeing me. I nodded. Always. And just like that, the storm had passed, but the calm afterward felt like a new beginning. A beginning where we could finally face favoritism together, instead of letting it pull us apart. The next few days were weird. Tense, but different. Not the explosive tension of the restaurant, but the lingering kind that follows a massive truth bomb. Nancy and I texted a bit, sharing small updates and jokes, slowly testing the waters of what felt like a new sibling alliance. Dad, on the other hand, avoided us both. He wasn't texting, calling, or even mentioning the incident. My stepmom pretended nothing happened, but I could tell she was simmering. At work, I found myself replaying the restaurant scene over and over, still a little shaken by how quickly Nancy had turned the tables. Then came the call I'd been dreading. My dad asked to meet for coffee. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity and some responsibility, I guess, won out. Nancy agreed to come with me. She wanted a front row seat for what she called a damage control theatre. We met at a small cafe near our neighbourhood. The smell of roasted coffee beans and warm pastries filled the air, but I couldn't focus on anything except Dad. He sat there, looking worn down, avoiding eye contact. Thanks for meeting me, he muttered. Look about the other night. Nancy crossed her arms, not saying a word, giving me a small glance that said, let me see how you squirm. I realised I handled things poorly. Dad continued, his voice quieter than usual. I never meant to make Nancy feel invisible. I thought I was just encouraging you to succeed, but I see now that I pushed her away. Nancy finally spoke, her tongue controlled but firm. You didn't just push me away, you told me I wasn't enough. You made it clear you preferred her, that's why I had to make you hear it. He nodded slowly, shame flickering in his eyes. I know, and I'm sorry, I can't change the past, but I want to do better. I want to be fair to both of you. I felt a rush of relief mixed with skepticism. That's the start, I said. But it won't happen overnight. Nancy added, and I'll be watching any hint of the old favoritism, and well, let's just say the next recording won't be for your ears only. We all laughed, albeit tensely. It was a little release valve after weeks of pent-up tension. By the end of the coffee, we had a plan. Dad and stepmom agreed to treat Nancy more equitably, help with her career goals, acknowledgement of achievements, no more backhanded comments. Nancy agreed to call them out when necessary, but in a less dramatic fashion. I'd act as mediator when things got too heated, something I didn't fully realise I could do before. Walking back home, Nancy nudged me. See, sometimes a little chaos is the only way to get their attention. I laughed. Yeah, but remind me never to do dinner at a fancy restaurant again. She smirked. Deal, next time it's my rules, and maybe, just maybe, we can all survive it without blowing up. And as we walked side by side, I realised that for the first time in years, I wasn't just the favourite child or the passive sibling. I was part of a real team with Nancy, on equal footing, ready to face the family drama together. A week later, we decided to have a smaller, calmer family dinner at home. No fancy restaurant, no recordings, just the five of us around the kitchen table. It felt different. Lighter, in a strange way, even though everyone was still a little on edge. Dad made an awkward attempt at humour, trying to ease the tension. So, Nancy, I hear you've got big plans at work. Nancy smirked, sipping her water. Yep, and I'll need your help sometimes, but fair help this time. Stepmom cleared her throat and offered a small smile. Of course, I'll try to do better. I watched this exchange, hot swelling with cautious optimism. The old dynamics hadn't disappeared, but the playing field felt levelled. Nancy and I could joke again without feeling like we were walking on eggshells. She even gave me a quick elbow under the table, whispering, "Not so golden now, huh?" We spent the evening talking, laughing, and even teasing Dad gently. It was strange to hear him take it, but he did. He tried to apologise for the favoritism, awkwardly at first, then with more sincerity. Nancy accepted it, not fully, because trust takes time, but enough to feel like a real breakthrough. By the end of the night, I realised that Nancy's revenge at the restaurant hadn't just been about humiliation. It had been about forcing acknowledgement, forcing the family to see her as an equal, to respect her, to treat her fairly. And in a weird way, it worked. Later, after my little brother had gone to bed, Nancy and I stayed behind to clean up. The kitchen was quiet, and for the first time, it felt like we were just stepsisters, not rivals. You know, she said, stacking plates, I was ready to make that dinner help, but I think the real win was getting you on my side. I laughed, shaking my head. Yeah, I guess, I just wish it didn't have to get so dramatic. Nancy shrugged. Sometimes, chaos is the only language they understand, but hey, we survived, and we're stronger for it. I realised she was right. That night, I didn't just see my stepsister as someone who'd been sidelined, I saw her as a powerful, fearless woman who refused to be invisible. And I knew that as long as we stuck together, parental favoritism and family politics wouldn't tear us apart again. Before I went to bed, I sent Nancy a quick text, "Thanks for pulling me into your chaos, we make a good team." Her reply came almost instantly, "Always, and next time, I pick the restaurant. You're warned." I laughed, feeling a sense of closure I didn't expect. The restaurant incident was over, but the relationship it forged was just beginning. And for the first time, I felt like our family could actually have a future that wasn't built on favoritism, lies, or resentment, just honesty, accountability, and maybe a little chaos when necessary. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's forcing the truth to be seen. And Nancy? She did exactly that.